Hey guys! Welcome to another Sunday Live. This live, I promise, won't be as heavy as the other two lives that I did where we discussed abortion rights. I'm done discussing that on social media for reasons that we'll go into a little bit later on. So I am dressed like Tess because I just got finished filming a bunch of new TikToks. Getting some inspiration back, which is a good thing. But look out for those; those will be posted in the upcoming weeks. One housekeeping thing I wanted to go over before we kind of dove in here. Recently, I posted on Patreon that I will be allowing access to unedited photos for an additional price. At the moment, it's not the additional price is not going to be like a different membership in Patreon. It's just going to be via Venmo, if that's what you all want. But I am considering making another tier that will have where that membership will have access to other things that the other tiers don't. I'll play around with it. You guys give me input, whatever. But for now, if you guys want unedited photos, DM me on Patreon and let me know how many you want, and I will provide those to you probably via email. I'm thinking is going to be the easiest way to do that. But yeah. So with all that said, let's go ahead and dive right in. This is just going to be like a weekly roundup kind of a thing. I had some interesting stuff happen to me over the course of the week. Interesting and frustrating. It was both, and it usually is both. It's usually both interesting and frustrating. It's just the nature of my job. So I got a case. I have this case that I inherited from this woman who used to work in one of our offices down south. Amazing, smart, in just incredible human being, but I think she had too much on her plate, and so she went to find a job where she could have a better work-life balance. And unfortunately, she had so many cases, and she tried very hard to get them all in good shape before leaving. Some of them, however, were not. This was not one of those cases that I got. Just a very interesting one. So, and it's going to involve like some nuanced concepts that even I'm having trouble wrapping my brain around. So let me give you the facts. Here are the facts. All right. So for those of you who don't already know, I practice property insurance defense. So, my job is filled with talking to engineers and general contractors and looking at policies to see if damage that somebody is claiming is in fact covered under the policy. And that usually involves determinations of what caused the damage. That is like the majority of my practice. Very, very, very rarely do I get to tackle other issues, like other more nuanced issues, which can make it a little bit tedious. But at the same time, within that kind of tedium, there can be some interesting stuff. This particular case has nothing to do really with damage or what caused the damage or the scope of the damage or how much the damage is going to be. It all has to do with this concept called standing. Now, standing really just in layman's term means your ability to file a lawsuit. Whether or not you have essentially the standing to file a lawsuit. I'll give you an example. So say, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example. Okay, in its most basic terms, say you're sitting on a bench and you watch somebody push somebody else, and the person who was pushed falls and hurts him or herself. You cannot sue the person who pushed that other person. You don't have standing. They didn't push you and they didn't cause you damage. So you can't sue them. Really, it's just a concept that means, or that stands for the proposition that if you have not been damaged or if something did not happen to you, you cannot sue somebody else. It's only the person who has been damaged that can bring the lawsuit. So in this case, we were dealing with the issue of standing. And in terms of the law that I do, it usually has to do with whether or not that person is in a contractual relationship with the entity that people think have done the thing that is wrong. So obviously, right, if you have an insurance policy that covers your house, like, your mom can't file suit on that insurance policy because your mom doesn't own the house, right? Only you can sue on that. Or an assignee who you assign your rights to. So, and I said, no, I'll back up. So in American law, you basically have the freedom to assign what's called assign your rights in any contract that you enter into to anybody else that you want. You cannot, and that just means, hey, person B, if I've entered into a contract for like goods or services, right, and I have done everything I need to do under this contract to get those goods and services, I can assign my ability to receive said goods and services to somebody else. I cannot assign the duties that I have under that contract to the other person. So really, the other person is like, in a really great position because they don't have to do anything, but they do get all the rights and benefits that flows from it. Okay, so that's the understanding, right? Basic understanding. You have the freedom to assign your contract or the rights of your contract to anybody that you please. There are caveats, of course. And in terms of an insurance policy, most insurance policies, take a look at yours. Take a look at yours. Prohibits the assignment of the entire policy without the written consent of the insurer, so the insurance company. So essentially, the insurance company is saying, hey, please don't assign your policy to anybody else without telling us, right? That makes sense because that insurance company entered into a bargain with you to provide coverage for your property under the circumstances that you told them that it would be provided. So right, that's the reason that there are rental policies. That's the reason there are homeowners policies. The insurance company considers certain risks based on who you are and what kind of insurance you're getting in determining, how much your premium is going to be or whether or not they're even going to cover your house, right? So the concept of the insurance company should not just be like lambasted with oh yeah, by the way, now somebody else is occupying the property and they have like a gigantic pit bull that's aggressive, and that completely changes the level of risk it is that you're having to insure me for. That makes sense. What you can do under an insurance policy is you can assign a post-loss claim. This is a very important point. Obviously, I am putting lots of emphasis on the claim part because it will become important in the story a little bit later on. So there is a very well-established body of case law here in Florida that says you can assign, if you have reported a claim to your insurance company for damage to your property, you can assign that claim or portions of that claim to other people. The most common assignment that I have seen is if there is like a water mitigation company or a mold remediation company or a roofing company involved, and the insured, so the person who is paying the premium, assigns a portion of that insurance claim to these other companies so that they can get paid for the services that they render. So like if a roofer has entered into what's called an assignment of benefits contract with you to replace your roof, what you have essentially done is given them the opportunity to collect the money it will cost to replace your roof directly from your insurance company. So they don't have to go through you. They can communicate with the insurance company themselves. They can sue the insurance company for not paying out. So that's really the most common kind of assignment that you see in terms of insurance contracts. It is very rare that insureds assign rights to like other just random people, right? Like that's kind of weird. I've seen it where a spouse will assign his or her benefits in the policy to the other spouse so that that other spouse can file suit by themselves and the other spouse doesn't have to be involved. Why they do that, I have no idea. And it is a huge thorn in my side when that happens. But it doesn't happen often because it's weird, right? Like there's no reason to assign your rights to just somebody else for no reason, right? So, but in this case, the facts are unique. So owners A, the first owners, the original owners, in terms of this case, um, sold their house in 2018. This house is located in Naples, Florida. And what we learned later on during investigation of this claim is that owners A suffered damage to their roof from Hurricane Irma, which occurred back in September of 2017, but they fixed it. They completely fixed it. So much so, right, that the house passed inspection when it was sold. Because owners B, so the buyers, first buyers, hired an inspector. Inspector came out and he's like, yes, this house is great. There's nothing wrong with this house. This is a beautiful house. And it passed inspection from owners B's new insurance company. So, like, double pass inspection. This house is dandy. This house is great. Now, 4 months after owners B buy this house, they reach out to owners A and they're like, hey guys, so this roofer knocked on our door and told us we have all this wind damage. And they said that we can get a brand new roof for free from our insurance company. Actually, I'm sorry, from your insurance company, but you have to assign us your rights under that insurance policy, right? So that was owners B asking owners A to assign owners A's benefits under owners A's policy. If you guys are following me, if I'm going too fast, let me know. I'll slow down. So owners A were just like, what? Why? What the fuck? We have fixed the issue with the roof. We told you that we fixed it, and it has passed not only your inspection, but your insurance company's inspection and the inspection that we got before we even put the house on the market, right? So owners A are like, sus. I sense sus. So owners B were like, no, 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 no. Nothing for you to worry about. There is, our roofer's telling us there is damage. Maybe it was missed, and we think we need a new roof. So you need to assign your benefits. Owners A were like, I know all this because plaintiff's counsel gave me a string of emails between owner B and owner A, where owner B is essentially coercing owner A to assign benefits. It's like super cringe. It's terrible. So ultimately, owner B convinces owner A that, hey, it's fine. Nothing bad will happen to you. Just give us these rights. Nobody will bother you again. Lol. We have subpoenaed owners A, and we'll be deposing them. So clearly, they are still going to be involved in this. But like no, like hate on owners A. Like they literally owners B were just like, no, there's nothing that could possibly be wrong to happen. You should do these things, and they were like, okay, I guess we'll trust you. So owner A assigns rights and benefits under the policy to owner B. And right, that sounds exactly like what I was talking about before, about being able to assign rights and benefits under an insurance claim. Now, a very, very, very important part of the story is the fact that owner B never filed a claim with their insurance company before they sold the property. Okay, that is hugely important. Because in the absence of a claim, there's nothing else for them to assign other than the whole ass policy, which we already know they can't do without the written consent of their insurance company, which they did not get, right? Because they never filed a claim. They never had any intention of getting their insurance company involved in the minor damage, alleged damage that they say was caused by the storm, which was all fixed before they sold the house, and therefore before we ever got our asses out there to take a look at anything. So, the first attorney who was handling this on behalf of the insurance company, that wonderful human being that I said had to leave and find a better work-life balance, and she did because she's awesome, filed a motion to dismiss based on lack of standing. So I was like, yes, this is great. But then plaintiff's counsel bullied her and gave her a case, and that case essentially stood for the proposition. Now, let me back up. She moved to dismiss based on lack of standing because there was a lack of what's called insurable interest in the property on the part of owners B, right? So owner B, that all that means is that they did not own the property at the time the damage happened. So they have zero interest in it, right? Also, it's already been repaired. Like, what the fuck else do you want? Anyway, doesn't matter. So the former attorney tried to move to dismiss based on this concept of a lack of insurable interest, which reaches the same result, lack of standing. But my argument is a different way to get there. And I'll tell you what my argument's going to be in a bit. So she gets this really nasty gram from plaintiff's counsel, who is an older attorney down in Miami. And he's like, well, this is bullshit. You have no basis to argue this. Here's this case that said, no matter that, here's this case that says essentially, you can assign your rights and benefits in an insurance claim to a potential buyer, and that buyer can use that assignment to pursue that claim even after the house has been sold, even if the new buyer wasn't there at the property and didn't own the property at the time the damage happened. So he's like, look, this case says that we can do exactly what I'm doing right now. And she's like, shit, okay. She did not, I don't think, considered what exactly owners A were trying to assign. I think she just was down that tunnel of, oh, they didn't have an insurable interest. There's no standing. Okay. So fast forward, I get my hands on the case, and owners B now sell the property again to owners C. And they assign whatever it is that owners A assigned them now to owner C, and owner C are substituted in as plaintiffs. So already, the facts of this case are completely absurd. We have a situation where the original owners fixed whatever was wrong with the house, put it up for sale, and now the new owners are like, yeah, but we want an entirely new roof, even though nothing's wrong with it and it's already been fixed. And now the third owners are like, whoa, we want in on this shit too. We have no idea what's going on, but we want in on it. So, like, absurd. So, and I've never dealt with this situation before. I'm like, what is even going on? So I reached out to my entire firm. I'm like, here are the facts. Please assist. And I get an email back from this guy. He's a partner up in Pensacola. Phenomenal attorney. One of the smartest guys I know. And he's like, did owners A ever make a claim? And I was like, no, they didn't. He's like, without calling me a fucktard, he's like, okay, so there was no claim. I said, no. And so there was nothing for them to assign. I was like, well, they're rights and benefits. He's like, yeah, under what? And I said, the policy, duh. And he's like, okay, what does the policy say they can't assign? I was like, the entire policy. So it was a total like stupid moment for me, but it was a great teaching moment for him. So essentially what these guys have done is they have assigned their entire policy to owners B. And because they can't do that, it's invalid, which means the entire basis that owners B had for filing this lawsuit, like the entire thing that potentially gave them the right to do this, is invalid. So therefore, they don't have standing. Makes sense to me, right? Under the applicable law that I have tried and probably failed to eloquently explain to you guys. So I filed what's called a summary judgment motion, and that is basically, hey, telling the judge, hey, judge, we all agree on the facts. Nobody's disputing the actual facts. Like nobody's disputing the fact that the property was sold in 2018, or the fact that they now own it. Nobody's disputing any of that. What we're disputing is an issue purely rooted in the law, which means we don't need a jury in here deciding anything, because juries don't decide legal issues. Judges do. Juries decide factual issues. They are fact finders. So a summary judgment motion is essentially you go before the court and you're like, hey, only legal issues, you're on. And the judge either grants or denies the motion. The motion is denied. It's usually because there is an issue of fact, or they deny it like on the substantive legal issues. So anyway, I put together this motion. I filed the said motion, and we are trying to get it set for hearing currently. And this past week, I had to appear to a deposition on this case where opposing counsel was taking the deposition of one of our witnesses. So this guy used to work for the insurance company. Problem is, we don't know where the fuck this guy is. We think he's in Mississippi somewhere. And when that happens, our office can't produce him. Like, we're not going to say, yes, we promised to bring this person to the deposition. We can't say that because we don't know where they are. So in that situation, opposing counsel has to subpoena that person, and whether or not they show up is like a crapshoot. We don't know. Well, he didn't end up showing up. And in those circumstances, the court reporter usually waits between 15 and 30 minutes for them to appear before saying, all right, they're not showing up. So that's what we did. We were sitting there waiting for this guy to show up. He never showed up. And while we're sitting there waiting, opposing counsel, this is on Zoom, this is a Zoom meeting. Opposing counsel asks me, he's like, hey, that's not actually how he talks, but I disrespect him. So I'm going to mischaracterize the way that he spoke. But now what he said. So he goes, hey, I don't understand your motion for summary judgment. I'm like, okay. Well, what about it? Don't you understand? And I'll be happy to try and explain. Well, it just doesn't make any sense. I'm like, okay. All right, champ, you're going to have to be a little more detailed with that and tell me what exactly about my motion doesn't make any sense. Now, when I draft motions, I draft them like I am talking to a fucking 5-year-old. Like, I want them to be understandable to anyone on any level, right? And I come with receipts. Every single sentence, almost every single sentence, has the citation of whatever it is that I'm drawing from. So if I make a sentence, I'm going to put where it was that I got that sentence from. For example, my client issued a policy of insurance with effective dates of this to this for this particular property. See the subject policy attached here too is Exhibit A. Like, I bring receipts. So my motions are usually pretty self-explanatory, which is why I was like, you got to be a little more detailed here. Did I miss something? And he's like, well, you're saying that my clients assigned the entire policy and they didn't. I was like, okay, well, what did they assign? Well, they assigned their rights and benefits. Duh, that's what it says right there in the assignment. And he was like, at this point, he was actually kind of getting a little condescending. I was like, okay. So I said, okay, rights and benefits for what? I did the same thing that my partner did to me. I kind of like walked him through. I was like, rights and benefits for what? And he's like, well, for the policy. I said, right, because your client didn't file a claim, or because owner's A didn't file a claim before they sold the property. So they didn't have anything else to assign other than the entire policy. He's like, well, none of your cases say that. None of your cases say that. And I was like, at that point, I was like, but they actually do. But they actually do. Did you read it? Did you read it? Like, did you read the motion? Sounds like you read at least some of it because you don't understand it. But I wasn't about to be like, yes, it does, because then he'd be like, no, it doesn't. Then I'd be like, yes, it does. I didn't want to do that, like, in front of the court reporter. So I was like, okay. I said, listen, I cited these two cases. It's called Bioscience was one, Ifergain was another. I said, take a look. When I read those cases, this is the conclusion I reached. And I told him, I said, I get that you don't agree with me. That's totally fine. That's literally our job. I said, but we'll see what the court has to say. And then he goes, well, I'm going to have to file a motion for sanctions against you. Huh. I was like, so at that point, I kind of broke my very cordial, very professional demeanor. And I was like, wow. Like, I literally told him, I was like, wow, really? And I think that pissed him off because he's like, well, I'm just sitting here. I'm just trying to talk to you in good faith about this. I was like, I recomposed myself. And I was like, listen, I get that you don't agree with my argument. I said, I think it's a reasonable argument. In fact, I think if it's not a winning argument, it is at least a colorable argument. I said, but, if you don't agree with it, that's totally your right to not agree with it. And if you think you're going to need to file a sanctions motions against me, you do you. You do what you have to do. And like, I thought that would be the end of it. I'm just in here just like, I'm standing by it. I'm not going to withdraw this motion. It's got good arguments in it, And he's like, I'm just trying to, and he just repeated it. I'm just trying in good faith to get this. Your motion is frivolous. Your motion is frivolous. You intentionally mischaracterized the law. So, in professional terms, like legal terms, when they say you have intentionally mischaracterized the law, what they're telling you is that you are lying. That's what they're telling you. They're telling you that you're lying. And I'm like, oh, oh. So I was like, I waited for him to stop. And by the way, while I'm trying to explain my motion, he's like interrupting every single sentence. Like I would start by like, well, and then he'd interrupt me. Then I'd start by, but if you, and then he'd interrupt me. And then I start, and then he'd interrupt me. And it's like, it was absolutely fucking maddening to try and get any actual sentence out while I was talking to this person. So, he basically accused me of lying and mischaracterizing shit. And again, I did, I obviously disagree that that's what my motion is. I said, I'm not really in the business of filing frivolous motions. And he interrupted me again with more bullshit and threatened me again with a motion for sanctions. And at that point, I said, okay, listen, file your motion if you need to. And then he interrupted me again, but I kept talking over him. I said, file your motion if you need to. And I was raising my voice. I said, but understand, if you file that motion, I will be moving for sanctions against you for filing a frivolous motion. And that really pissed him off. He's like, well, now you're threatening me. Literally, this asshole who has just spent the last 10 minutes threatening to file a motion for sanctions against me accuses me of threatening him for doing the same fucking thing. And I like at that point he just got so flustered. He's like, "Oh, I have to go and check on my dogs." I don't think he had any dogs. I didn't hear any anyway. But apparently he had to go check on whatever dogs he had, ghost dogs. I don't know. And he I guess took a nap or something, took some Ambien or whatever, and felt better when he came back. But how fucking maddening. Like, just to carry on the conversation with any human being. It just like, oh my God. So I was not shaken, but I was real mad. I was really mad. So I called my boss, my direct boss, and I called that partner that I spoke to at the beginning up in Pensacola, and I called a couple of other people that are way smarter than me, and I talked to them about it. And right off the bat, my boss, who is like a 60-year-old white man, and then the Pensacola guy who was also like a fucking late 60s white man, both of them immediately right off the bat were like, oh, he did that to bully you because you're a female. I didn't even think, like, that did not cross my mind. It did not cross my mind when that was happening. Now, I've been bullied because I'm young, like a young attorney. That's huge in the industry. Like, older attorneys discriminate against younger attorneys just for being younger. And like, they can get vitriolic and toxic about it. And I've dealt with that before. Not so much now anymore. I've been practicing for about 8 years, so I'm more respected now in the community just because of my experience level. But I did absolutely get all kinds of shit for being like a young baby attorney, and I try not to give that same shit to other young attorneys because I know how it felt. But sometimes they do some pretty stupid shit, and it's the ones that are like super confident about being stupid. I'm just like, all right, honey, you gotta take it down a peg. But anyway, so both of them were just like, oh, it's because you're a woman. It's because he was trying to intimidate you because you're a woman. I was just like, what? And when they told me that, I was like, that I didn't get that impression. And both of them were like, did he interrupt you? I was like, oh, yes. Like every time I tried to start a sentence, he would interrupt me. They're like, yeah, they don't do that to guys. They don't do that to male attorneys. They only do that to female attorneys, which I don't know if that's actually the case. It seems like a pretty blanket judgment to make, but I can say that anytime I've ever been interrupted, it's only ever been by a dude. It's never been by a lady. That having been said, I have been, women can be super bitchy, like super bitchy for no reason. They're not going to interrupt you, but they'll for sure shit call you unprofessional for no reason and just like be passive aggressive about everything, which is hilarious to me. Anyway, so that was really the most, I guess, interesting experience I had this week. But let me try and get to these comments here. All right. Hello, Mr. Enigma and David. Hello, hello. Oh my gosh. Next door have got subs. Oh shit. So like a sinkhole? Yeah, you better get that looked at. Are there sinkholes? Are there sinkholes in where you live? I know in Florida there are shit tons because our the geology of like the what our states it's all lime, and lime can be very easily washed away by water, which is why you get all these like big holes. It's because of the lime, and I don't know if like over in England there's like a big like continents, not continents, but like big areas that just have all lime under them. I don't know, but I don't know if there's like another kind of rock that has that same issue. Who knows? 83 degrees. All right, how hot is it here? That's hot. Yeah, see, it's 87 over here. It's usually it feels hotter because of, oh yeah, it's saying it feels like 100 because of the humidity, which is at 62%. I won't be going outside today. Uh, is this on record? Based on when you said that, not yet. Well, actually, I would say it is on record. So I think you're talking about the emails between owner A and owner B. I'm taking this off. I look like a thumb, but this was getting irritating. Um, the emails. So something gets on record once I file it with the court. Um, discovery. So like discovery would be what it is like. So discovery is I send you a written request for certain information, then you give me the information that I ask for. That's discovery. That's not considered part of the record unless I file it with the court. So some of the emails are in fact part of the record because I attach them to my motion for summary judgment. It'd be really interesting to see what the judge has to say about those, or even if he considers them at all. It's not really relevant to my argument, but I sure as shit I put them in there to basically diminish the credibility of plaintiff and his clients. It is. I mean, here's the thing. Like, you do not have to be smart to be a lawyer. You don't. You have to have a really good work ethic. Actually, you probably don't even need that. There are plenty of lawyers that have like zero work ethic. But yeah, you don't have to be any kind of smart to be a lawyer. Like you really the qualities that I see that are most helpful in doing the job that I do is good work ethic, grit, which is basically just you keep trying and you keep getting up. Even if you lose, you just keep going. And to me, like a fundamental understanding of both common sense and reason and logic, as well as a good handle on more abstract like issues. Because there are some times when it's not all about common sense, and there are some cases where like this one where you have to like consider things that are almost like smoke and mirrors. Those are very different. Those issues are very difficult and probably do require you to be kind of smart. Yeah. So we have not. So Chedamasta says he wants to see the conclusion of this. I am very excited about it too. We've not gotten the motion for summary judgment set for hearing yet. I think that OC opposing counsel is going to want to take some depositions before we can do that. But I will let you guys know as soon as I argue that motion. I'll let you know, how I thought the judge was acting. Oftentimes, you can kind of, if you pay attention to like the judge's facial expressions and what he's doing during the case, and like if he's asking any questions, you can kind of have an idea of what the ruling could be. Some judges telegraph more than others. Cracks in the brickwork about 3 inches. That's big. I know over here in the States, they're at least in Florida, we have an entire statute for insurance claims on sinkholes. There was a point in time where sinkhole litigation was almost as big, if not as big, as roof litigation is now, and it got to the point where same thing that's happening now. Insurance companies were going bankrupt because they were having to pay out for not only repair of the like earth under the house, but for complete renovation of the entire house. So I mean, we're talking between 500,000 like $1 million for all that. So it's a lot of money. So in response, the Florida legislator came up with a bunch of laws that limited a person's ability to bring a lawsuit for sinkhole damage. And I think that's what the legislator's trying to do now with these roof cases, but he's failing miserably because he's bad at his job. But anyway, so within this legislation, because I'm getting back to the 3-inch wide thing, if it's more than like I think half an inch, then it's considered structural damage, which has to be present in order for you to, be able to bring any kind of reasonable lawsuit against your insurance company. So, oof. Yeah. Shut up. Yeah, if I could get any opposing counsel to just agree with me on anything, I would not have a job. Because I mean, really, when I tell people what my job is either to defend against fraud for the most part, or to get things settled if my client has fucked up. With plaintiff's counsel, I don't think they give a rat's ass about the actual merits of the case. I think they just want to fight because they get fees. So in answer to you, I would love to be able to have that ability to just talk with somebody on the basis of the law and be like, hey man, yeah, this lawsuit that you filed, not great, and here is why. And for them to be like, oh man, yeah, you're right. I probably shouldn't have brought this lawsuit. I'll get it dismissed. That never happens. That doesn't, okay. I'll back up. That doesn't never happen. That has happened a couple times over the course of the last couple months, but only in very, very, very egregious cases where I'm literally like, listen, my client wants me to move for sanctions against you. If you continue this lawsuit, I don't like doing it. I think they're dumb. I think it's a dick move. I said, but I don't blame them because I don't see any merit to the lawsuit that you filed. And like in those circumstances, it was like the counsel just had not looked at the lawsuit. And he's like, oh shit, yeah, well, let me take a look at it. And then like 5 minutes later, they'll call back and they're like, yeah, we'll dismiss. Yeah, you're right. I'm like, I know. But that's how I deal with frivolous lawsuits. Like I call the guy and I'm like, listen, do you really want to continue this? And for the most part, they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. Sometimes, they'll be like, yeah, I talked to the client, they want to pursue it, and this is why. And here's it, like, so long as they can give me a reason, then I'll be like, I can see that. I can see how I probably wouldn't win a motion for sanctions. I guess we'll continue this, but I am going to win a summary judgment motion, so I maybe still dismiss it. Anyway. Nowhere near the coolest lawyer, trust me. Are you saying? Yeah, I am saying there are lazy ass lawyers. Lazy, but I think like for the most part, like what I experience is people that are just overwhelmed. Because in my mind, what I'm thinking of is I'll send an email to somebody and we'll never get a response. Even after I call and I email again and call and email again, I never get a response, and that is so unprofessional. It's so unprofessional. You cannot just ghost people in this job. You can't be the person you are to your friends when they ask you to go out on a Friday night and you'd rather just stay at home. You can't just like ghost. You have to respond. And I have found over the course of time that it's not because they're like intentionally ignoring me or being lazy. It's because they are overwhelmed and they have too many cases and they don't know how else to deal with it. So, and that's another problem in and of itself. But yeah. So time is up. What time is it? 1:39. So yeah. So more cosplay stuff, plans, stuff. Oh my god! I forgot to put on my cool freaking skirt thing that I bought specifically for this costume. That sucks. So for those of you who kind of tuned in now, a little bit later on, at the beginning, I said that I had just finished doing a TikTok bout. So I shot a bunch of videos. And this is the costume, right? Like for the most part, like anybody who's watched my TikToks, this is the Tess costume. I recently got this cool thing and completely forgot to put it on. Let me put it on now. You can see it's really cute. It's a big floof, super floofy. Goes around here, and now I have a bustle that hides the fact that I don't have an ass. And it's floofy. Floof. So I'm gonna wear it now. That's the best part. So cosplay. So yeah, it seems that lots of people on TikTok missed Tess. I love Tess. But I had just lost inspiration to do anything with her character for a while. And I recently was able to collect a bunch of sounds and did a bunch of videos to those sounds. And I guess, I mean, like, my TikTok page is evolving. You know, I went through a spat, if you guys recall, with like cocktails. I was super into cocktails. I am still into cocktails. And I've gotten actually lots of requests to do more cocktail videos, which I will. Just need to find the recipes. What else? And I would like to bring back some of the other characters. So I brought the queen back, and I really like the queen, and I want to find some more sounds for the queen. Just because her new costume is super cool. She's now a black queen instead of a red queen. And I want to bring Nine back. I want to bring the pirate back. I love the pirate. I just gotta find the sounds. That's really what it is. And I had played around with the idea the idea that was not mine. I got it from one or two of my other followers, and they're like, "You should do like full length videos." I'm like, "That would be awesome. I just need to figure out what the best way to do that is." Because my thought is like, oh, I would love to do like a full length music video with one of my characters. Um, and I think I can probably do that with just filming either like on this camera or just like regularly on my phone without going through any kind of like app like Reels or TikTok or anything like that. Um, so I think I can probably do it that way. I just haven't gotten around to it. I have a couple songs in mind that I'd like to do. I just haven't gotten around to like fully fleshing out the idea for the video. I did kind of play around with like full length stuff. I did like that cool trailer with like when I was introducing the new queen. I thought that turned out really cool, and I have another video like that that's still in my drafts that I'll post a little bit later on. But yeah, so like bringing back old characters, doing some full length stuff, more cocktail recipe videos. Um, I played around with the idea of doing like, cocktails and cosplay, but like cocktails and cooking. So instead of like making alcoholic beverages, I would make like meals, food, bread, something. Because I do like making stuff. So yeah, so there are ideas that are swimming around. I just have not spent the time to fully flesh them out. Due in part to the fact that I had two trials and like two major hearings that I had to prepare for, and it took months and months and months to do it. And then we got right up to like the eve of these things, and the other party was just like, "Yeah, just kidding, never mind. I don't want to actually do this. We'll settle." And not only was I, busy getting ready for those things, but then after they settled, then I had to go back and catch up to all the things that I had just allowed to languish while I was prepping. So it has been a shit ton of work for the first half of this year, which has been part of the reason that I've not been as active on social media. Yes, Renaissance. I love the Renaissance Festival. The one that we usually go to is coming up in the fall, so look out for some Renaissance themed stuff coming up in the fall, and of course Halloween. Not sure what I'm going to be for Halloween yet. Not sure. I think I was telling you guys about potentially doing like a Bridgerton character. I'm playing with this just kind of as I'm talking. I don't know if this means I'm on the spectrum or anything, but it's actually kind of funny. I look like a duck. So I might do Bridgerton. I just have to kind of finish that costume and tweak the dress a little bit more. And of course, I will do some creepy ass stuff come Halloween. I still have some things in my drafts that I did shortly before I did my spook tour that I figured I'd save for Halloween. So there's that. That's new and up and coming and developing. What else? What else? What else? What else? I figured this was going to be a pretty short live. I didn't really have much to tell you guys other than that stupid case that I'm dealing with. It's not stupid. It's not a stupid case. It's a very interesting case, and I'm very, very interested to see what the judge is going to do with it. But as far as like other shit that's going on in my life, there's not been a lot. There has not been a lot. We did get to go to one of our favorite bands. They were playing at one of our favorite pubs on Friday, so we did that, and that was a lot of fun. I posted a picture of myself being a goofball in the mirror, and it was mostly because I really liked the way the outfit turned out. It was jeans, a corset, just a white blouse, and then I wore sparkly booty heels with it, and I thought it looked real good. We need to bring back corsets. And maybe I'll be the one to do it. I don't know. So we did that on Friday, and then last night, we had a role-playing campaign going. I was not participating, so I was off doing my own thing. But then we went and I ate my weight in snow crab legs, and then came home and promptly went to sleep. It was a great night. It was one of the best. And today, what's going on today? Oh yeah, one of the reasons I'm doing it so early today is because we've got our other role-playing group coming, and we are coming up with new characters because we're doing a new campaign because we finished the other campaign. And I am so excited about my character. Oh my God. So forgive me while I nerd out for a second. I mean, although if you guys were not here for the nerdiness, I don't know what the hell else you were here for. So in my first role-playing campaign, my character was a monk, an elven monk, and her backstory was that she ran away. She's a high elf, and she ran away from her aristocratic parents because they wanted her to be like, proper and fancy, and she didn't want that shit. She's a tomboy. So she ran away to like, not a convent, but what's the thing that monks, it's not a convent. A monkery? No, it's not a monkery. An abbey? I don't remember. It's where it's where the monks go to be monks. I don't know. She ran away to one of those, became a monk, learned how to fight, and because of all the trauma that she faced as a child, she's all kind of crazy and shit. So she's like a Harley Quinn kind of high elven monk. She was a lot of fun to play. But I'm ready for something else now. Now I kind of want to be a druid because I want to be able to turn into animals. Specifically, I want to be a swamp druid so that the animals that I can turn into are things like possums and raccoons and alligators and perhaps, I don't know, frogs, snakes, moccasins, key deer, all kinds of amazing swampy creatures. So I want to be a swamp druid. So that's what I'm be. And I don't know, as far as like a race goes, I'm kind of between. I don't want to be an elf again. I want to be either like a human or a fucking cat person, because you can be cat people in this campaign. So I would not only be a swamp druid, but I'd be a swamp cat druid. It'll be great. I can't wait. So that's what we're going to discuss today at around 3:00 when people are coming over. And I have to I gotta draw it. I gotta draw it. And if I do draw it and it turns out okay, I'll share it with you guys. But only if it turns out okay. So. Abbey, thank you. Monastery. It was a monastery. Jesus fuck. Words are hard. And this is a prime example of why you should never think that all lawyers are smart. Bridgerton. Okay. I will show you the costume that I plan on using. Bear with me. Oh dear. I'm trying not to knock that over. Oh, God. Okay. Too old for this shit. Oh. All right. So, Bridgerton was is the show is based off of a book series that takes place in the Regency era, which would have been the mid to late mid 1800s. It was between the era of very, very poofy Marie Antoinette clothing and the era of the 1900s, where you saw a more column silhouette. So I will show you. And by the way, the 1970s, they brought back a lot of that Regency style in their wedding dresses. So in the 1970s, you actually saw lots of wedding dresses that were kind of Regency style, very columnal. No corsets. They're open from basically here down. It's called an empire waist. And they were all about the big bosoms and not necessarily about the small waist. So I happened to come across an old 1970s style wedding dress at the Goodwill. Which I didn't realize was the 1970s. I did not realize it was as vintage as it is until I did research on one of the tags that I saw on this dress. And since I don't want to walk around wearing a wedding dress, I dyed it pink. So that's what it looks like. So there's the waist. You can see this is basically an empire waist. There's no corset or anything here, so it basically just falls straight down. Now, this dress has a gigantic train. Huge train. Big. Almost as tall as me. But the good thing is that most wedding dresses have a way to what's called bustling it. This is a bustle. And for wedding dresses, all that means is that you gather up the bottom, and then there's a place to hook it up here. So that now you can walk around without dragging everywhere. So I still need to figure out how to properly bustle this so that it doesn't look stupid. And I still need to get the jewelry that goes with it, which is going to be a tiara and a necklace. I have them on my wish list on Amazon, but if nobody gets it in time, then I will just buy it myself so that I have it for Halloween. So that is Bridgerton. That is Regency style, and it's beautiful. And you can actually buy a Regency, like if you're a lady, you can actually buy a Regency gown on Amazon. But yes, 70s were a fantastic time. Wouldn't know. I was born about 13 years after the 70s. Oh, thank you about the Cheshire Cat. Oh my God. Alice in Wonderland is my fucking jam. I love Alice. I love everything Alice in Wonderland. I love the concept of Alice in Wonderland. I don't like, okay, that's not true. I don't like the cartoon. I like the live action adaptations of that story, which I thought were just very, very, very well done. And I loved the aesthetic. So that is a huge compliment. Thank you very much. Yeah, Regency. I do recall. Okay, I do recall that look in the show. Yeah. So that dress is actually the waist is actually even a little bit lower than it should be. If you look at the dresses in Bridgerton, I mean, the waist sometimes started like mid boob. You know, they only needed enough of the boob just to like enough of like this area of the body to show so that you can push them up and push them together and they looked big. But that was the younger women. If you notice, a lot of the older women in that show, the queen, she wore 1700 style stuff. She wore like Marie Antoinette style shit. Who is the shit? I thought she was Whistledown in the first series because they made it seem like she was Whistledown, but she wasn't. Lady something. I forgot her name, but she was the widowed governess, kind of the matchmaker. And you would see her wearing some of her dresses were corseted down through the waist, but most of her dresses were not revealing, as were the younger women on the show. The older women would wear less revealing. They'd have like collars that come up here and covered their neck and covered their their chest, and really it was the younger women that had like tits out, which makes sense, I guess. I mean, they were literally trying to find a mate. They were matchmaking. They were out there doing their little mating dance with their tits out stuff. But it's a great show. It's a great show. I highly recommend Bridgerton. Both seasons are great. Second season I liked better than the first season, just because I liked the characters in the second season better than the first season. But that's just me. Oh my gosh. That's really welcome. When I gotta tell me what kind of cars they are, David. Oh, do it. All right. I'm gonna have to look and see from the game, from like which game? Is there an actual Alice in Wonderland like video game? Or are we talking about like Kingdom Hearts? Either one. I'd love to do Alice. Maybe shit. Maybe that's what I do for Halloween is Alice in Wonderland. Love it. Yes, that's how I say Bridgerton. I can't say it any other way except. American McGee's Alice. Okay, okay. Yeah, I cannot wait for season 3. I think they're going to focus on Penelope and Colin, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm less excited about that than I was about Anthony. Um, it just seems like Colin's character throughout the first and second seasons, he's just been furiously just and obnoxiously completely oblivious to everything. And it's gotten to the point where like during the second season, I'm just like, it's almost bad. It's almost badly written that you are still this fucking oblivious to Penelope's feelings for you. And it almost now that they're finally getting around to it in the third season, it's almost like I don't want it anymore. I would have wanted it in the first season when we were first being introduced to these characters and we were first being introduced to like their dynamics with each other. But like after the second season, I'm just like, I don't fucking want it. Penelope deserves better than somebody who is just painfully oblivious to the world around him. She deserves better than that. That's my thought. So I'm not discounting it like now, but I am less excited about the third season than I was about the second season. But we'll see. They could prove me wrong. I really do like the actress who plays Penelope. She's wonderful. 1969 Triumph Spitfire MK3 and 1973 Triumph. I'll have to look it up. I'm not familiar with those cars. Yeah, Chad. I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna work out, but I'm gonna give it a shot because Kate's gonna be back, and love Kate. I love Kate so much. Her little sister, I can do without, but Kate, chef's kiss. Kate was great. Kate and Anthony were both just wonderful, and Daphne. I mean, I love Daphne. I love her character. I both love she and the Duke. Like I loved the first season. I just like the second season better. And I would love to see them, come back for the third season and just like be there. I don't know if the Duke is. I would love for him to. He didn't make any appearance in the second season. I don't know if that's like a contractual issue or just he was never written in. I feel it would have been really easy to write him in. I feel it was a little bit weird that all we saw was Daphne, even though she was married to the Duke. I don't know. That's just me. I'm excited about it though. I have not watched the next season of Stranger Things yet. That is on my list. As of late, really what I've been doing to entertain myself is listening to true crime podcasts. For whatever reason, that I'm just now fascinated with true crime podcasts. Specifically, if you guys are into that kind of stuff, check out Morbid. Morbid is I love those girls. It's two girls. They're not girls. I mean, they're full ass grown women. But they are just so knowledgeable and articulate, and they're such amazingly talented storytellers. It's great. And they not only do true crime stuff, but they also do spooky stuff, paranormal stuff. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So check it out. Go check it out. Morbid. They recently did a piece on Loretta Jones, which was a cold case back in 1970. This young mother was raped and killed, and they didn't have enough evidence to even charge the guy who they thought had done it. So and then they just gave up. They're just like, meh. They just gave up. For 46 years, they gave up. And throughout all that time, the daughter of this slain woman, did not ever give up. And she, over the years, just collected bits and pieces about the case and collected them. And then at one point, she went back to where it happened, went to the police and said, hey, I've got all this stuff from this case. You guys should reopen it. And if you do, I'm going to get your favorite team tattooed somewhere on my body. That was literally what she said. And the detective was like, yeah, we'll take it. And they did, and they found the guy, and they jailed him. So it was a very, very, it's Loretta Jones. Look it up. It's a very, very, very interesting story. Oh yeah, I can't wait. Now I can't wait. Maybe we'll get it started, Mr. Enigma, Stranger Things today. We shall see. I hear it's a little darker than the earlier episodes, which the earlier episodes were also really dark. So I don't know how much more darker this is going to be. I imagine because of, all the actors are kind of getting older and coming of age, it's going to shift to more mature themes and not just like gory, scary, spooky stuff. But we'll see. We'll see. The tattoo in the butt being the linchpin. Hey, Paul. Well, thanks for joining. No worries at all. Unfortunately, I'm already running out of things to say, things to talk about. Trying to think like what's coming down the pipeline. I had played around with doing another calendar. Y'all want, if y'all would be interested in a calendar? Let me know. We do a 2023 calendar for you guys, and I can have that ready to purchase prior to the beginning of the new year. I've been wanting to do some more merch. Just need to figure out what the hell I'm going to do. I would love. I've got 2 or 3 artists that I reached out to long time ago, not long time, like 2021, to do some art for me, for merchandise, and they're amazing. And I might reach out to them again to do some special stuff, like maybe a Halloween thing or maybe like a Christmas thing. So I'll see what I can do there. But I thought, oh, shit. I didn't tell you guys about these cool vacations and things that we could coming up. Tell you about those, and then we'll wrap it up. All right. We've already got. Can I have a 2019 one cheap? You can. How about this, David? I've got a 2021 calendar that had been on sale for like 40, but if you want it, you can get it. I think I order it from shit. It's one of those like printing like online things. It's like Shutterfly or something, and it costs $24.72. So if you want to just give me $30, you can have it. I'll order one for you for $30. Okay, so to take care of like shipping. But yes, so we already did one part of my vacation, like one vacation this year. I try and do at least 2 throughout the year so I don't get burned out. So this next vacation, we are going to drive up to North Carolina, Maggie Valley, which is right by the Blue Ridge Mountains, Smoky Mountains, right by the Smoky Mountains. And we rented a house in the mountains, and we are going to. I have no idea what we're going to do while we're there. Hiking for sure. There are a bunch of like breweries and distilleries that I want to go check out too. And probably we'll also just like hang out around like some of the towns in that area, so that we don't like kill ourselves just hiking the entire time. But since we are driving and not flying, and since it is a 10-hour drive, my husband had the genius idea, and this is why I married him, because he's smarter than I am, of stopping on the way to North Carolina and hanging out in Savannah, which is where I just came from. And I'm just like, yes, any chance I get to hang out in Savannah, I will take it. So at first we were going to stay there. We're staying in Savannah for 2 days, 2 nights. And at first I was having a really hard time trying to find a hotel. They were like in October, like they were all booked up. And finally I came across this hotel. It's called the Bellwether. And oh my God, you guys, I am so excited to stay in this freaking hotel. It was constructed as 2 townhouses back in 1867 by one of the owners of the townhouse. Used to own one of the most successful hardware stores in Savannah at the time. And then the other guy was just some dude. But eventually the a company bought the 2 townhouses, combined them into one gigantic structure, and that is now the Bellwether Hotel Inn. It's really an inn, Bellwether Inn in Savannah. Highly recommend going to look it up. It is stunning. It is gorgeous. Oh my God. But really, really, the main reason we chose this was because not only do they have, breakfast is included, and it's a hot breakfast made to order. It's not these like gross continental breakfasts that you get at like Holiday Inns. It's like delicious, or it looks delicious anyway. But they have afternoon tea, which is also included in the price from 3 to 5. So you get to the hotel from like 3 to 5, you get snacks, you get tea, you get coffee, and then at 6 p.m., there's a champagne toast. Again, included in the price of the room, a champagne toast to celebrate the opening of the bar. This is why I fucking love Savannah. Because they're every bit a lush as I am, and they fucking celebrate it, and I could not love them more for it. It is awesome. I mean, they've got I was going to say open carry. I'm not talking about guns. I'm talking about alcohol. Like, you can go to any bar in like the historic district in Savannah, order a drink, and get it to go. You can walk with that bitch. The only thing they don't allow is that you can't be double fisting. So if they see you holding 2 drinks, even if you're holding a drink for somebody else, they're gonna make you toss the other drink that you're holding. So just make sure you're not double fisting anything. But yeah, you can walk around in Savannah like carrying your alcoholic beverage, which is awesome. Love Savannah, and it's like artsy. It's I mean, it's a beautiful city. It's gorgeous. It has so many little squares all throughout the city that are like, brick floors and beautiful old oak trees and gardenias and like liriope and just beautiful shit. And it's like most of Savannah is shaded by these old oak trees that are covered in Spanish moss, which is the aesthetic is just, I love it. Because not only is it beautiful during the day, but it's hella creepy at night to see these big old oak trees just dripping with Spanish moss. The people in Savannah are all so fucking nice all the time. And I'm from the South. I get it. People from the North, complain about us being like backstabbers, how we'll be all nice and sweet to y'all face, but the second you turn around, you say, "Oh, bless her heart." Maybe, I don't know. But in Savannah, that's not the vibe that I get. In Savannah, just everybody's happy all the time. It's great. And the food. I have not been to a restaurant in Savannah that did not have phenomenal food. Oh my God. The last time we went, I wanted to get into this place called the Pink House, the old Pink House restaurant. It's an old house that's pink. And they have kind of garnered this reputation of being just the jewel of Savannah in terms of like restaurants. They do Southern style food, so like grits, collards, fried catfish, biscuits, pimento cheese. And I have been there before, and that food is phenomenal. It's expensive, but you're paying not only for the amazing food, you're paying for the ambiance. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful little restaurant. And they book out months in advance. So I was really, really, really happy that I don't know why I just crossed my fingers. Because I already did. I got the reservation. I'm very happy about it. There's another restaurant called Alligator Soul, and it's in a literal basement, which is also delicious and also is kind of gaining a very, very strong reputation for just being a very good restaurant in Savannah. Unfortunately, apparently they have got some kind of something going on the date that we want to go. So we were not able to get a table there, but hopefully we can find somewhere else. I mean, it's really like you just throw a stone in Savannah and it'll land in front of a restaurant that's delicious. So hella creepy. Yeah, Mr. Enigma, if you have not been to Savannah, I don't know where you are in this world, where you live. But if you are ever able, go to Savannah. Go to Savannah. It is such an amazing experience. And when you're there, take a tour of the Bonaventure Cemetery, either at night or during the day, either one. And take the one that is hosted by Shannon. Shannon. He's an author. And obviously not authors write well, but this particular one happens to write very well. And in turn happens to be a phenomenal storyteller. So we took a daytime tour of the Bonaventure Cemetery, which is expansive. It is a huge cemetery where all kinds of rich and famous people are buried, and there are all kinds of really cool stories. One story that will never leave me is we were walking by this grave, and there was this like stick in the ground, and on the stick there was a bell, and then there was a contraption that looked like it was like a wire. Okay, so like here's like the stick was bent, and then it had a bell. And then there was like this little wire that like went from the bell up over the stick and then down into the ground. Do y'all know what that was? A dead ringer. It's called a dead ringer. It's called a dead ringer because back in the day, sometimes if somebody was in a coma, they didn't know if they were dead or not. Like if somebody they did not have the confidence in their medical know-how to be able to say whether or not somebody would come back to life. Because it had happened before where people had been buried alive. So what they would do, usually on the more wealthy people who died, was they would put a bell on top of the grave, and then they'd have a little contraption that went all the way down into the coffin, so that if the person was in fact alive, woke up in the coffin, they could ring the bell, and somebody would come and exhume them. And that is where the term dead ringer comes from. Now, why that is now synonymous with somebody who looks a lot like another person, I have no idea. I just know that the term dead ringer comes from an actual bell that the dead would ring to be exhumed if they had been buried alive. So California. Oh my God. No, see, but you can make a whole trip out of it. Louisiana. Yeah, Louisiana. I don't know if there's anything in Mississippi or Alabama that's worth visiting, but certainly Louisiana, New Orleans. And then you can come down to Florida if you really want, and then hop back up. Yeah, so if you like go to Louisiana, check out New Orleans, drive over to St. Augustine, which should be like kind of a mostly straight shot from New Orleans over to the East Coast. And then from there, you can take the same route that we did. So we went from St. Augustine to Savannah, which is about a 2.5-hour drive from St. Augustine. And then Savannah is about 2 hours from Charleston. And then we just came back home after that. But yeah, I mean, I can recommend hotels. I can recommend restaurants. I can recommend things to do. Absolutely fucking do it. So worth it if you're into like the creepy stuff. Or even if you're into history. St. Augustine is the oldest city in the entire United States. I know that doesn't mean much for Richard for David and all the Brits over there, where it's like they have castles from before Jesus was born. But for us, it's like it's significant. It's very interesting, and I highly recommend checking it out if you have the time and the means to do it. And if you do, DM me. I will happily give you a list of all of the cool places that I went and all the places that I think are worth trying. Hey, Nick. Only 4,100 miles from me. Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, the dead ringer. Yep. Yeah. There was another very interesting story about the cemetery. Oh yeah. So do y'all know what the difference between a cemetery and a graveyard are? I didn't. Not before I went on that tour. Cemeteries is a Victorian thing, and cemeteries were built to be like parks, like these beautiful, like, and when you if you ever go to Bonaventure, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful. Burp. Like beautiful old oak trees lining these, some of the streets, flowers, beautiful stone, like just gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And that was intentional because the idea was that instead of, like on the weekends, like we go to the park to hang out at the park. Well, back in the day, they'd go to the cemetery to hang out in the cemetery with their deceased loved ones. So they'd make a day out of it. Like they'd bring a picnic, they'd bring like music. I mean, it would be a whole thing, and they just hang out with grandpa, and just be there. And it was cool. That is a cemetery. A graveyard is just where dead are buried. It doesn't have that same kind of purpose and meaning that a cemetery does. And I learned that on the Bonaventure tour. So very, very, very cool stuff. Expensive plots for your final reservation. Precisely. I personally will not be being buried. I will be getting cremated, and either mixed into a bunch of dirt where a tree can grow, or scattered in the ocean somewhere, or just thrown away. I don't know. I don't really care what people do with my body after I'm dead. I'll be dead. Exactly, Mr. Enigma. Precisely. All right. Well, I gotta get out of this core set. And I need to get start getting ready for people to come over. It has always and it was and will always be a pleasure doing these lives with you guys. I'm so happy that you guys show up and chat with me. It's great. So next week, I don't know what's going on next week. Oh, we're going to MetroCon next week. Hell yeah! And I'll be wearing my Tessa outfit. And I'll try and take some videos while I'm there without seeming creepy. But as far as I'm concerned, we're still on track for doing our live next week. Don't know what it's going to be about. Probably the same thing we talked about here. Same shit, different day. And hopefully I'll have some updates on some of the things that I've been kind of brewing in my brain about more cosplay shit. But in the meantime, have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a wonderful week. And I will catch up with you guys next Sunday.